Welcome to Linda's Corner. My name is Linda Bjork, and today we're going to be talking about how priorities change when time becomes precious. I'm delighted to welcome special guest Ryan Lindner. Ryan is a personal development specialist and the author of The Half-Known Life. You can reach Ryan and learn more about his book at his website, rslindner.com, and I'll include a link in the description. Welcome, Ryan. I'm so glad that you could join with me today.
My pleasure. It's so great to be here. Super excited.
Ryan, I am so grateful that you are alive and able to talk to me today. Would you mind sharing your story of why you know that time is precious?
Yeah, absolutely. It had always been my goal to be a coach, and I've been a coach for about 20 years or so, and I worked so hard to become a coach. I had thousands and thousands of clients, and I reached what I would call my dream sort of job. And, I was taking on clients, helping them. And I was new at a particular, as a coach at a particular place. And I had a contract. I worked a lot with the military. And I was there just a couple of months. And I had a cardiac arrest, two of them actually. They were one day apart. And what's, I guess, unique about that, a lot of people have been through just a ton of different things in their lives, but as a coach, it really transformed my experience with my clients. Because I was so new, I actually didn't have any paid time off accrued, or the insurance hadn't kicked in, with any new opportunity. And I was back at work 5 days later. 5 days after this. And by the way, I was 30 when it happened, and
Wow.
no family history. I've been in wellness my whole life, working in wellness professionally, professionally trained in wellness, and, eating healthy, non-smoker, exercise all the time, doing all those right things. But when you go through something like that, and I've seen every specialist out there, world-renowned specialist. So the cause was a mystery. Now, I'm still here, still kicking. I've got my pacemaker now, which I received as more of a safety net. But the real, part of my job is tracking patterns in clients. I do a lot of studies, and I do a lot of training, so, apart from coaching. And it transformed the way I viewed, problems seem different when you don't have any energy to give them. So a lot of people, what they experience when they're feeling physically good is they give a lot of their energy to these small problems. Your problems sort of disappear when you're on the ICU, because you're just worried about, functioning from moment to moment, and problems just seem so different. Because I did virtual sessions, and I would be with a client, and I'd be hooked up to all these wires, and, they couldn't see it, of course. And I remember one lady just going on and on and on about her problems, and I was just teetering on consciousness at the time. And so, all that to say, I am dizzy 24 hours a day. It's just a condition that I have.
Still?
And, 24/7. I'm dizzy right now.
Really?
And it's all the time. I have what I guess can be best described as wiring problems. And I have to be very mindful of my energy, the amount of sleep I get, the amount of water I drink, which is constant. Just all these little things and triggers, things that make the dizziness worse. And when you no longer have energy to give to problems, you have to make conscious choices of what's worth it. The cost of anything in your life is the amount of energy, amount of time it takes from you. That's the cost of anything. And coincidentally, my career, my specialty, is really helping clients move out of their own busyness, and I help them through transitions. So that's what I specialize in. So I just found it very fitting in a darker kind of way that, I would go through something like that, and then that's what I did as a professional anyway, which was help people sort of look at their problems in their lives differently.
And very different from book learning, because you really, really deeply understand this. I thought your comment, when your problems go away when you're in ICU, I would kind of clarify that just a little bit. I wouldn't say your problem. I would say you have a problem. That is why you are in ICU. However, just the idea of that prioritizing and the little things don't matter, and things that seemed big all of a sudden seem very, very, very small. And like when you're working with this client and she's talking about her problems that you probably thought were pretty small, well, you're just teetering on, I'm gonna pass out here. So that gives you a unique perspective that you get to bring to what matters and what is important. So how do you help your clients be able to make that transition and recognize, these things don't matter so much? Because we can get fixated on the tiniest little thing. And, we talk about perspective. If you have something right in front of your face, it seems huge, insurmountable. Where if you maybe take a step back, it's not that big. I can get over that.
Yeah. Well, when I talk a lot about what matters, everyone thinks they know that already, right? It's like, family matters, relationships, all that stuff matters. But most of the time, people don't realize to the extent it's just in their periphery. So it's not, they know it matters, but their behaviors, the way they're living their lives, don't reflect that. And they don't know that per se. So as I, track patterns in clients, what I have found is that, everyone has a busyness they think is unique to them. This to-do list they're working on. I got to do that. I got to finish the bathroom remodel, mow the grass, pick up the kids. They think their busyness is unique to them. But any coach and counselor will probably attest to the fact that, they don't realize I just had, the same conversation, 500 times with other clients. And that is that, everyone is looking for more time. But and one commonality is that people can't see themselves, right? I've had psychologists as clients. I've had military generals. I've had CEOs. And initially when I got, say, a psychologist, I was thinking, that's interesting. I thought they had it all figured out, I guess. But we're all just people. And again, it has nothing to do with how smart you are. Most people cannot see themselves, and that's what I do. My job is more of a catalyst, or I guide them through their own exploration. So my job is to ask the right questions, to get them to see their blind spots a little bit, and to be with them in those moments as they reevaluate that. Because again, most of them will tell you and describe very clearly what's important, but they can't see themselves. And so, that's where having this, other partner, this partnership is helpful.
Isn't that interesting that we can have professionals, and I have had personal experience with family and friends who are professionals in the field of being able to help people to understand and see their problems and maybe some of the mistakes that they're making. And then they can see it as clear as day on the person, on the other side of the couch, or, that your neighbors, your friends. And yet, because I know them, I can see that they're doing those same things in their own life and don't see it at all. And so it's kind of fascinating. And you have a unique perspective in that, any of us, we're all humans. We can all make the same mistake. But because of your experience, you are not able to look at it and say, oh, this is something that other people need to work on. but I'm going to play by my own set of rules. Now there is a very level playing field where you say, you know what, this applies to me a lot.
Yeah. And when you look at studies, a lot of people, when they go through a trauma, I've done also studies in hospice, for example, when they go through a trauma of some sort, they are pulled into the moment. Because what a trauma does is it kind of awakens you. It shocks you to kind of go, whoa, what just happened? I got in a car accident. I did this. I forgot all about my to-do list for a minute, and now I need to get really clear on how I'm living my life. And, that's what a trauma does. It awakens us temporarily, and then most people go back into that to-do list over a few months, and they're sort of lost again. So what I try to do is, hopefully a trauma isn't needed. It's really helping them, be present in the moment. Mindfulness, absolutely. But it's really about, those blind spots. And, there's that saying out there, if you want something done, give it to a busy person. And it's, what I mean by that is, people, whatever perspective they have of their own situation, sometimes it does look different from the outside. So exactly what you said, sometimes I'm working with a client and I'll see the solution to their problem right in front of me. It's right there, but they can't see it.
And it's until we get that buy-in also that we recognize, this solution actually fits for me. Because like you said, we think we're the exception. Like when you talked about people and their to-do lists and how they figure, and it's funny that we think, oh, I am the only person on this planet with this to-do list with 527 things on it. Everybody else has it easy. When the truth is, no, we all have a lot of things that can demand our time. But we don't always have to say yes to everything that demands on our time, right?
Absolutely. I mean, people think, or they treat busyness a lot like it's happening as like a victim of circumstance. In other words, like, oh, I got so much to do, I'm so stressed. But if you look at your life, what you find is that your current situation is often a result of a series of little micro decisions you made that got me here. No one's forced me to do this career, live in this state, or whatever. A series of micro decisions got me to this place. And that's what's going to get you out of it, making the right choices for you, seeing those. A lot of people are stuck in familiarity, what's familiar, so they don't want to get outside their comfort zones. And they live in reasons why it won't work. So they're not really able to make those decisions that will move them forward. So in many ways, they're keeping themselves sort of stuck.
Oh, and all the things that you said can be very painful because you're taking it from a place of a mentality where I'm thinking, well, it's not my fault and there's nothing I can do about it. It just happened to me. And then you're trying to open my eyes and say, no, actually, Linda, the reason you are where you are is because of these little micro decisions. And that makes things like my fault. And ooh, who wants to hear that anything is their fault? Yuck. And then to say the solution is up to you. And that puts me in the driver's seat. And while that is very, very empowering, it's also a little bit incriminating because that means, I have some room to improve. And a lot of people think, but I'm so busy. There's no room to improve because I'm running as fast as I can on this treadmill, just trying to keep up.
And, I always work with clients and when we encounter this, exactly what you're saying is, I'm just trying to keep up. It's not about perfection. It's about chipping away at it a little bit each day. Even if you had 5 minutes, you can do a lot in 5 minutes. A mentor told me that, a business mentor. And he said, just time yourself 5 minutes. How much can you get done? And again, most people can't see, how to get unstuck, but it's just about chipping away at it just a little bit each day. That's it. It could be 15 minutes. It could be 5 minutes. It's about creating boundaries for yourself and staying in those. I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make is the minute they slip up, it's this feeling, the guilt, and then, oh God, I slipped up, and then they give up after that. So I think it's about your internal dialogue to a large extent, and how you treat yourself. Do you treat yourself the way that you would treat a friend or a family member? Most people don't. Most people are very hard on themselves. So it wasn't until I said, you know what? Every day is a redo. And as long as I am showing up in integrity, which to me is just chipping away at it a little bit each day. I showed up today and I'm going to show up tomorrow. As long as I keep doing that, you will get there. You will get there. And I'll give myself, if I need 1,000,000 redos, I get 1,000,000 redos. And you can't berate yourself over it. And again, it comes down to prioritizing your energy. And I just refuse to make myself feel, to berate myself. Treat yourself as if you're someone to care about, right? I mean, most people don't. They're very hard on themselves.
Isn't that the truth? We are usually our own worst critic. And I had a friend teach me this little phrase. It says, I am the kind of person who is kind to myself. And I thought, oh, what a beautiful and simple phrase. Where if you're caught in that cycle of, oh, why did I screw up? Oh, why did I da-da-da-da? To stop that, because that can create that ruminating cycle that's so damaging. And to stop it with, no, I am the kind of person who is kind to myself. And that's just such a beautiful place to start. I love that you brought up the idea that we can do something in just a few minutes. And one of the things that I share on my nonprofit website is a 5-minute morning routine to help get things started so that you can have a great day, to help put you in the right place. Because I think it's so important that when we have these ideas and you're talking about this personal transformation and there's so much to do and I'm already feeling overwhelmed, that it needs to be simple and short enough that I think, oh, that's it. Oh, I can do that, rather than, oh, I can't do this. There's too much.
Yeah, and most people, it becomes a chore, right? Some of these personal development things, and I love that. It's simple, but I think just keep it simple for yourself, and just keep showing up, and it's all about how you think about it. One thing I do a lot is I work with introverts, people with anxiety, shyness, and things like that, confidence issues. And some of my clients are a little bit surprised to find that I am very, very introverted, often more than my clients. And I grew up with just this terrible, terrible anxiety. And what's required there is, again, it's all how you treat yourself. Most people feel like and this is what feeds the anxiety, is they think there's something wrong with being quiet or wrong with being introverted, and they spend their whole lives trying to change that. And until you own it, until you love that about yourself, then it will control you. So my fears kind of went away once I said, you know what? Not only is being introverted nothing wrong with it, I love it. I like being introverted. Don't want to change it one bit. And when you look at it differently like that, when you own things, the fear dissolves right there. A lot of people talk about public speaking, the fear of that. And once you say, you know what, I don't care, maybe I'm nervous, once you own those things, the fear just takes care of itself.
Isn't that wonderful? Now, I would very much consider myself an introvert as well. Somebody who is an introvert and versus extrovert can mean something a little different than what I previously thought it meant. It doesn't only mean that you're shy versus you're outgoing. It can also mean the way that you recharge is, I love to spend time alone. And that is how I build myself. And other people love to be in a nice big crowd with a bunch of people, and they kind of feed off of that energy. And to me, that drains me. So I really, anyway, so I agree with you. That's nice. And I love to say, the fear starts to go away when we own and we accept that. And I feel like that is very true. And I also think that when we're in the process, that we should pat ourselves on the back and give credit, because I think courage is being afraid and doing it anyway.
It's being confident in your or self-assured in your lack of confidence or self-assurance. It's owning that, right? If I don't know something or I'm lacking confidence, I'm just going to be confident in that and let it be okay that I don't know something. Ask questions, learn it, make it be okay. Give yourself permission to let that go.
Isn't that healthy? Because a lot of people have a feeling of perfectionism where they think, I cannot move forward until I am absolutely sure that I can do this perfectly. And that makes us very stuck because we really can't guarantee that we're going to move forward without making a mistake. And then we have to have that self-assuredness that it's okay to not know everything, and it is okay to not do everything perfectly because I am a work in progress. And you know what? That's great.
Absolutely. It just, that mindset shift. And again, in my situation, when you have to consciously think of, what is worth the energy for me, it just came down to a simple decision is, I'm just tired of worrying, tired of, I just don't have the energy for it, let's put forth energy to things that are going to build me up and not break me down.
Excellent, because that matters. That matters.
Yeah.
Now, we're talking about, trying to put our best foot forward here, and even when we don't feel necessarily confident in it, you have some hacks about how to be more, as you put it, attractive. How to kind of, we all have a mixture of our skills, our strengths, our weaknesses. So how do we put our best foot forward? Like, how do I sound great in a job interview? Or, give us some tips on how to look good and how to sound good.
This is one of those topics a lot of people think they know. Like, I teach a lot about impressions and how to nail those impressions. A lot of people think they know what that entails, friendliness, smile, greet, look them in the eye. But there are two things that people notice about you right away in an impression, and even subconsciously. One is they have a feeling about your competence, or you could also call that perhaps confidence as well. But the second thing that people notice is your warmth. And that's an interesting word for me, warmth, because it encompasses so many qualities, it's not just smiling, or it's the way that you come across, right? And it because people don't always remember what you say, right? They remember how you make them feel. So that warmth to me makes me think of a feeling. And what most people are used to in life, most people are used to being very transactional, not interactional.
Mm.
So, you go to the gas station and interact with the cashier. You go to a coffee shop and you order something. Most people, it's a transaction. You're a role, they're a role, and you treat them that way. There are a couple things you can do to shift that and be interactional. And it's nothing earth-shattering. It's simple. It's easily applied. And one of those things, of course, is nailing that impression, warmth, right? But in any interaction that you have, if you just pause for just a few seconds, just pause before jumping right into what you were going to say. You pause. You let them get everything they need to say out. And then you ask questions after that. Most people do not feel heard, right? So, in most transactions, people are just, they're just ready. All they're thinking about is what they have to say. And they don't make it so much about the other person. So, again, warmth, really just slowing down and taking that pause with the person you're interacting with. And they're going to feel immediately more connected before you even say a word, because they feel like you're present, you're hearing them. It's just that little pause. And then you can ask reflective questions. You can ask questions that sort of dig a little bit deeper into what they're saying. And that's going to validate them. That's going to make them feel like, wow, they really heard me. So a lot of times what I'll say is, Linda, this is what I heard you say. And I'll kind of reflect it back to them. Those are a few subtle little tips that really do make a big difference.
That's awesome. And these are things that require that we be genuine and authentic. I don't think you can fake warmth very well.
No.
And I think that this is a beautiful idea of this transition from just a transaction into an interaction, that we see people and we hear people. And that can create a beautiful win-win, because we not only, I feel like whenever I have opportunity to visit with someone like yourself and I'm listening, I learn something, and I feel like it makes me a better person, because you're going to spark some ideas that maybe are new to me, or maybe something that I know, but maybe I've forgotten. Or sometimes it's something that I know and you're validating and saying, yes, I agree with you. And all of those things are beautiful. And those are all gifts that you give me when I listen to you.
Exactly. And again, it comes back to kind of what we were saying before, is most people can't see themselves. And so that's, that's the key here, is they know a lot of these things intellectually, but they're sort of lost in their own heads, in the ways, I guess. But there are things that people do every day they don't realize they're doing. And I'll give you a couple of examples. And this is what makes it more transactional, because most of what we say to each other is automatic. It's a habit. Maybe you pass someone in the hallway at work. Maybe you see an old friend. And what do people say? How are you? How are you? And the response is, good, you? How are you? Good, how are you? How are you? Not too bad. Think about those types of responses. Fine. Fine. You're bad, just not too bad. That's good, I guess. Hanging in there. It's Monday. It's the automatic dialogue that people aren't aware of, right? And if you gave them a real answer, sometimes people would look at you funny, because they weren't really asking. That wasn't a real question. That was the pleasantry.
Right.
And if suppose I'm not having a good day, if I said, you know what, it's a terrible day, most people would look at you like, I'm sorry I asked you. What I try to do is I give a real answer, but always sort of in a way that keeps myself in a positive mindset. So,
okay, so let's try it. Here we go. Ryan,
exactly.
How are you today?
You know what? It's a little tired today. It's a little bit rainy out, but otherwise, I am fantastic. I'm looking forward to the rest of the day. I've got a lot of exciting things planned. It's how you are going to show up, right? And emails too, right? How do we? If anyone who's listening is in the corporate world, you know how they sign emails, regards, right? Regards, or very respectfully, or we would never speak that way, right? I always get a kick out of like the way people signing their emails regards, because we don't speak that way. That doesn't create the warmth. It's just an automatic sort of thing. I mean, just imagine, like, next time you hang up the phone, you're like, regards to your friend or something. It's so like a sterile, sort of cold way of being. And again, people notice the warmth right away. And so people can feel, even if they can't put their finger on it, they can feel if you're being interactional or transactional. And I had a gentleman walk into a wellness center I was working at once, and he just asked me, he asked me how I was. But I could feel that he was waiting for a real response.
Ooh.
Rather than just, you could feel it. You can just feel it. And people are generally more attractive, and you like people more who create those feelings in you. So they've got the warmth, they pause just a little bit, and they're there. They're present, right? Just those things alone will transform an experience.
And that requires that I get out of my head and maybe what I'm thinking what I'm going to say next, or that I'm worried about what you're going to think of what I say, or what you're going to think about me. And instead, I have to get out of that and just, at least for the moments that we are interacting, be caring and thinking about you. And that is a big transformation. And I think it's beautiful advice. So thank you for the wisdom you've shared today, and thank you for visiting with me today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Mine as well. In closing, I'd like to share a quote by Jim Rohn. He said, "Time is more valuable than money. You can get more money, but you cannot get more time." Today, I invite you to recognize that your time is precious and pay attention to how you use it. See you next time on Linda's Corner. Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode of Linda's Corner, please share and subscribe to help us reach new listeners. I also invite you to check out my nonprofit, Hope for Healing, at the website hopeforhealingfoundation.org for free ebooks, free audiobooks, and other free resources to help increase happiness, build confidence and self-esteem, strengthen relationships, manage stress, and calm feelings of depression and anxiety. I also invite you to grab a copy of one of my books, like Crushed, A Journey Through Depression, or Amazon bestseller, You Got This, an action plan to calm fear, anxiety, worry, and stress. See you next time on Linda's Corner.